Hi everyone, this is Peppa Crochet. Welcome to my new video. Today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to make the Meringue Puff Bag. For this project, we're going to be needing a 4.5mm hook, a 3.75mm hook, a weight 4 acrylic yarn, some scissors, some stitch markers or bobby pins, a darning needle, and optionally you can also have a button and sewing needle and thread for the bag. To begin, we will be using our 4.5mm hook. We're going to make a slip knot. I like to make a slip knot by wrapping my fingers twice around and then pulling the top yarn over the bottom yarn. We're going to put the slip knot over the hook and then tighten. And now we're going to make an uneven number of chains. I made 15. This is going to be the size of your bag. Now we're going to find the middle stitch, which is going to tell us where the middle of the chain is, and put a stitch marker here. Next, we're going to be working front loop single crochets. To make a single crochet, you're going to put your hook into the front loop only, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through 2 loops. So we're going to put the hook in the front loop, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through both loops on the hook. Okay, so this is how the single crochet should look like now. And we're just going to keep making those front loop single crochets up until we get to the stitch marker. Okay, so now we're at the stitch marker. We can take the stitch marker out, and then we're going to do the front loop single crochet. Okay, and we're actually going to be working 3 of these single crochets. After the second one, I like to put the stitch marker back just to maintain that middle. So that was 2, I put the stitch marker back, and then I'm going to make 1 more single crochet into that same loop. This will be our increase, and it's going to create a kind of triangular effect. Then we're going to be making the front loop single crochets all the way down to the end. Okay, now we're going to chain 1 and turn our work, and we're going to be working just into those back loops and making a single crochet. So we put the hook into the back loop only, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through both loops on the hook. And here I'm going to be making the back loop single crochets all the way down. For this row, we are not going to do any increases. We're going to be increasing every other row. So we're going to take the stitch marker out, put in the single crochet, and since we're doing no increases, we're going to put the stitch marker right back after we do that stitch, just to maintain the middle. What this does, it allows for a gradual increase. So we're going to do that all the way down. Okay, now we're at the end, and you can see that it's starting to get bigger. I'm going to chain 1 and then turn our work. Now we're working again just into those back loops. And since the last row we didn't do an increase, this row we're going to do an increase. So we put one single crochet, another single crochet, and then we're putting the stitch marker back to maintain the middle. And then we're going to put a third single crochet into that same stitch, all back loops. And to finish off, we're going to just single crochet all the way down to the end and chain one and turn our work. We're going to be adding a bobble into the 6th stitch. So we'll do one single crochet, two single crochet, three single crochet, 4, 5, and into that 6th single crochet we're going to be making a bobble. To make a bobble, we're going to yarn over twice, go into that back loop, pull through 2 loops, pull through 2 loops again. Now you should have 2 loops on your hook. We're going to yarn over 3 times now. We're going to go into that same stitch, yarn over, pull through. We're going to pull through 2 loops 3 times. So now you have 3 loops on your hook. We're going to yarn over 4 times now, go into that same stitch, yarn over, pull through, and we're going to pull through 2 loops 4 times. That's 2, 3, and 4. Now you should have 4 loops on your hook. We're going to do 3 into the stitch, and we're going to pull through 2 loops 3 times. Now you have 5 loops on your hook, and then the final one we're yarning over twice, putting it back into that same stitch, pulling through 2 loops 2 times. At the end you should have a total of 6 loops on your hook. We're going to yarn over and then pull through all the loops, and then we could shape the bobble by pushing out a little bit and tightening the yarn. Then we're going to do that same single crochet into the next stitch. Make sure to pull it tightly in order to secure the bobble. And then we're going to single crochet down. And then I'm going to show you what the bobble is going to look like. So I do a 2, 3, 4, 3, 2 bobble pattern in order to make this kind of oval shape instead of a circular shape. Now since this is a single crochet, no increase row, we're going to put in 1 single crochet and then put our stitch marker right back. We're doing no increases. And then we're putting another bobble in the same spot on the other side. So 2, 3, 4, 5, into the 6th one. Into the 5th one, so 6th one from the end, we're going to be putting another bobble. So just keep counting to make sure that it's even on both sides of the stitch marker and at the end of the row. I'm going to show you how to make a bobble again. We're going to yarn over twice, go into the stitch, pull through 2 loops 2 times. Now you have 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over 3 times, pull through 2 loops 3 times. Now you have 3 loops on your hook. We're going to do 4 yarn overs, pull through 2 loops 4 times. And then you have 4 loops on your hook, and then we're back to 3, and then we're pulling over 2 loops 3 times. And then the last one is going to be 2. Pull through 2 loops once and then twice. You should have 6 loops on your hook. Then you're going to yarn over and pull through all 6, and then push out the bobble, tighten, and then when we put in the single crochet into the following stitch, we're going to make sure it's nice and tight in order to keep the shape of the bobble. And then we're going to single crochet down to the end. So this is what you should have right now. You should have 2 bobbles. So since this is a no increase row, the next row is going to be an increase. We're going to chain 1 and now continue the pattern. Putting a single crochet into every single back loop, and then 3 single crochets into the stitch marker stitch. I also want to show you guys what the stitch looks like for the bobble. The stitch is just a regular stitch. It's a little bit elongated, as you can see. If anything, it makes it easier to put the single crochet into that stitch. So the bobble's on the non-increase row, then we do an increase row, a non-increase row, another increase row, and then on the 4th row, which is going to be a no increase row, we're going to add the bobbles. Okay, now we're going to chain 1, and this row is going to be a no increase row. So we're going to do that all the way to the end, and then do an increase row, and then now this is a no increase row, so this is going to be the 4th row since the last bobble, and we're going to add a bobble here. So I added a bobble into the 4th stitch. We're going to be adding 3. You can rewind back to the beginning part of the video in order to refresh your memory on how to do these bobbles. So there's one bobble that's into the 4th stitch from the end of the row. You can really add the bobbles wherever you'd like. I just did it this way because I like the way it looked. And then now we're going to be adding a bobble actually into the middle. So I'm going to be adding a bobble into that stitch right here. And then don't forget to put the stitch marker back just so you maintain that middle. There, I put the stitch marker back. And then we're putting the last bobble again, 4 stitches before the end of the row. And then we finish off the row with just back loop single crochets. And we chain 1 and turn our work. This is what it should look like now. So we have 2 bobbles and then 3. So then we continue the pattern. We do 4 rows, and then on that single crochet row, we're going to be adding more bobbles. So for this row, I'm just showing you, this was like an increase row. And then after that, we have the no increase row. So we're back to putting in more bobbles. So for this row, I added a bobble into the 8th stitch. Here I am just counting and figuring out where I want to put the bobble. If I put it into the 8th stitch from the beginning of the row. I kind of wanted it to be in between the other 2 bobbles we had made. So into that 8th stitch, we're going to make the bobble. Then we single crochet down the rest. Here I'm just showing you what it looks like. I believe I did 2 bobbles for this round, and then the following I'm going to be doing 4. And then don't forget, any rows that we're doing the bobbles, we're going to be doing no increases as it follows with the pattern. So we put the stitch marker right back. And then here I'm showing, or I guess I'm counting how many stitches before I need to do the next bobble. So again, it would be into the 8th stitch from the end of the row, so it's even on the other side. Okay, and then we chain 1 and turn our work, and this is what we have now. And then again, we continue the pattern until it's time to do another row of bobbles. So for this is the row with the 4 bobbles. I did a bobble into the 4th stitch. For the second bobble, I did it on the 8th stitch after the last bobble, so there's 7 stitches between the bobble we had just made. So we're making a bobble into the 4th stitch from the beginning, and then 7 stitches in between, and then another bobble in the 8th stitch, and then we're just going to mirror that on the other side. So then so it's a 5th stitch from the middle stitch marker. So you're doing another bobble here, and then we're going to put 7 single crochets in between that bobble, and then 1 more bobble to end the front panel of the bag. So the pattern is a 2, 3, 2, 4 bobble pattern, but again, you can do whatever bobble pattern you'd like. This is just what I want to do for my bag. We're doing 1 more row increase, since the last row was just the no increase row because of the bobbles. So we're doing 1 more increase row, and then we're going to be doing 9 rows of no increases. So just 9 rows all the way through. Don't forget to keep putting your stitch marker to mark the middle of the bag. These 9 rows are going to be the bottom portion of the bag. And now for the back panel, we're just going to be doing exactly the same thing we did on the other side, but in reverse. So we're going to start with the 4 bobbles, then do the 2 bobbles, then the 3, and then the 2 again. So you can just keep rewinding the video kind of backwards in order to see where you put the bobbles. If you did it differently, it really helps to write down what exactly you did and what stitches you put the bobbles in order to do the back panel. So this is how it should look like at the end. This is the front panel, the 9 rows straight through for the bottom, and then the back panel. So next we're going to be doing the sides. I also marked, if you see the 2 stitch markers, the green and the blue one, I marked where I started and ended the 9 rows. So those 2 stitch markers just tell me where those 9 bottom rows are in order to tell me where and how wide I need to make the side panels. You can also just count up from the last increase row 9 rows, and that will also tell you how many rows you did for the bottom panel. If you want the bottom to be bigger, of course you can put in more rows. If you want to be smaller, more thinner, you can put less rows. For the top, we're just going to give ourselves a long lead of yarn and then cut it. I'm going to use the same yarn later to stitch up the sides, so make sure you leave yourself enough yarn. If you want, you can also just cut it really short and weave it in, and then when you stitch the sides together, give yourself new yarn. So I'm just going down the row here to mark the other side as well to show where those 9 bottom panels are. Just following the ones I already did, but again, if you want to, you could just count for 9 rows or however many rows you did for the bottom panel. Okay, so now we're going to start on these side panels. I'm making a slip knot again. I'm going to take that stitch marker out, which indicates where I started the bottom panel, put my hook through, put the slip knot on, tighten the slip knot, and then pull it through all the way. Okay, now we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to be making single crochets all the way down. It doesn't really matter where you make the single crochets. Make sure that they're evenly spaced and that you have 9 stitches. So that's 9 stitches for the 9 rows. I just put a stitch marker back into the first stitch just so I know where I began. So I kind of put the single crochets into that loop and then into this double loop here. And so on and so forth until we have 9, or until we reach the other stitch marker, but it should amount to 9 stitches. Just remove the stitch marker and add the last single crochet. Okay, so that's 9 stitches for the side panel. Now we're going to be chaining up 1, turning our work, and we're going to be doing single crochets but into both loops now, so not just the back one, we're going to be doing the front and the back. So we're putting the hook through the front and the back, pulling up a loop, yarning over, and then pulling through both loops. We're going to do that all the way back to the beginning where I put the stitch marker. Okay, and then we're going to be adding 2 single crochets into this last stitch here for an increase. We're going to chain 1, turn our work, After this row, we're going to be doing a row of no increases, and then we're going to be doing another row of increases for a total of 4 increases, after which we're going to be doing just single crochet rows for a total of 17 rows. So the 17 rows will take you all the way to the top and reach over to the other side of the bag. Okay, so here is the final panel. So it reaches up to the other side. And we're going to be connecting this in a moment, but we need the other side panel. So we're basically going to be doing the exact same thing on the other side. Here I'm just showing you that I'm doing another long lead and then cutting the yarn. Again, we're going to be using this long piece of yarn to stitch up the sides, so make sure you leave yourself enough yarn. So we're going to now be doing the same exact thing on the other side, where we put the other 2 stitch markers to build up the other side of the bag. So you can rewind the video and kind of follow through that once more. And then at the end, this is what you should have. So you should have the front panel, bottom panel, and back panel all together, and then 2 side panels, which we will later be stitching up like so to make the shape of the bag. Now before we stitch up all of the sides, I'm going to be making a pocket to put into the inside of the bag. So I'm just showing you how to leave the extra long pieces of yarn so we can stitch up the sides. Okay, so the pocket is going to go in the front of the bag. In order to do that, I'm grabbing a 3.75mm hook, I'm making a slip knot. I'm going to be making a foundation single crochet. In order to do that, we're going to start with a chain 2, and then we're putting our hook into both hooks of that first stitch, pulling up a loop, yarning over, pulling through the first loop, yarn over, pull through 2. And then you're going to put the hook through the stitch closest to the yarn. It's going to be like a little V shape, you'll be able to see it. And remember to grab both loops, yarn over, pull through, 1 loop, and then yarn over and pull through 2 loops. This avoids having to do like a foundation chain first and then going to do a single crochet. It just kind of makes it easier one step. So I kept measuring it against the bag to see how wide I wanted my pocket to be. Now I'm going to chain 1, turn my work, and I'm just going to be doing a single crochet all the way down into both loops. When you get to the end, you're going to chain 1, turn your work, and then keep going until it is the desired length. I like to keep kind of just measuring it up against the bag to see how long I want it to be. Okay, so this is how my pocket turned out. Make sure that it's not so long that it's going to be overlapping into the bottom of the bag. So now I'm just making a single crochet along the edge to kind of clean it up and make it nice and neat. Again, you don't really have to go crazy with where you're putting the single crochets, just make sure they're kind of evenly spaced out to make it look nice and neat. And then I put 2 single crochets into the corners to kind of sharpen out the edges. Okay, we're just going to keep doing that and then put 2 single crochets into that corner stitch. So this is what you should have. It's a nice little rectangle. We're going to chain 1, cut the yarn, and then pull the yarn through to finish the pocket. And here I am just showing you how I'm stitching the pocket onto the bag. Make sure you don't stitch that top part we want to leave that open for the pocket effect. So I'm just kind of pulling the needle with the yarn through, and then I'm going to be going all the way down the perimeter of the bag, leaving the top portion open. This part's pretty self-explanatory. And at this point, I also kind of manipulated the pocket and stretched it out a little bit just so the edges were aligned with the edge of the bag. So I'm going into each stitch and then pulling it through. Again, like, you can keep shaping the pocket. Just make sure it's where you want it to be before you stitch it in. So this is what mine looks like. It's edge to edge with the bag. You can make the pocket smaller if you'd like. And then here I am just showing you how I'm making a knot and then cutting the excess yarn. All of this yarn, these strings pieces have to be woven in at the end, which is the worst part. So now we have our pocket. And now we're ready to stitch all the sides together. So we're going to turn the bag inside out, and then we're going to align the side panel with the front / back panel. So in order to do that, I'm putting my hook through both sides, both stitches equally on each side, pulling the yarn through. This is the yarn that we left ourselves before. We're going to chain one and then put our hook through both sides. Make sure that it's nice and aligned. Again, it doesn't really matter where we put the stitches as long as it's even and both panels are aligned. And then we're just going to be doing a single crochet. So put the hook through both panels and we're going to yarn over, pull through, and then yarn over and pull through both hooks. So pull up a loop and then pull through both loops on the hook. Single crochet. All the way down. So it might be kind of hard. You see me struggling a little bit to push the needle through both sides. Might take a little bit of force. And this is what I meant about leaving yourself enough yarn. So I kind of ran out of yarn at the end here, but I made it work. I did as much as I could, and then I busted out the needle and wove it in the rest of the way as best as I could. So you might make a nice little knot here. And this is kind of how I weave in my ends too. I put it into the stitches like so in like a zigzag pattern and then pull it all the way through to kind of hide that little tail of yarn, and then I'll trim it later. Okay, so we're just going to do that for the other side and then the other side of the bag. So we're going to be doing that 3 more times. This is what it should look like at the end. I didn't show this part, but what we're doing now is we're going to do the top portion of the bag. So you're going to put your hook with a slip stitch into any stitch on the top, and then we're going to chain 2. We're going to be doing double crochets all the way down. So you're going to yarn over, put your hook into the stitch, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, and then pull through 2 loops. So again, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2 stitches, and then yarn over and pull through 2 more stitches. You can slow this section down if it's a little bit too fast. So basically I'm going to be doing a double crochet all the way around, and then when we meet back up to that first chain 2 that we did, we're going to be doing a slip stitch into that top chain 2. I'm going to be showing that slowed down once I finish this row of double crochets. Okay, we're now back to that chain 2 and we're going to be doing a slip stitch. So we're going to put a hook through to that top chain 2 and then pull through the yarn and pull through the loop on the hook to complete the slip stitch. For this next row, we're going to be doing front post and back post double crochets. So we're going to chain 2, yarn over, and put our hook through this front post here, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And now we're going to be doing a back post. So we're doing the same thing but on the other side. So you can see that back post through the other side, pulling up a loop, yarning over, pulling through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Again, yarn over, we're going through the front, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and we're going to be alternating this front post and back post stitch all the way around. Now we made it back to the front. I also did a row of slip stitches all the way at the top because I wanted my bag to be a little bit more closed, but that's totally optional. And then you're going to chain 1 when you're done and then cut the yarn and tighten. Now we're going to be making the straps. For the straps I believe it's called an I-cord strap. So to do that, we're going to make a slip knot. We're going to be using that 4.5mm hook again, and then we're going to start with a chain of 3. Into that first chain from the hook, we're going to pull up a loop. Into the second, we're going to pull up a loop. So now you should have 3 loops on your hook. We're going to drop 2 of the loops, hold them down with your finger. You're going to yarn over, pull up a loop into the first one. Pull up that second loop again, pull your hook through, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then put your hook back into that third loop that we dropped. And we're going to yarn over again and pull up a loop. So now you're going to be back with 3 loops on your hook. So this is the pattern we're going to be repeating. You want to make it loose so that the loops, when you take the loops down, don't disappear on you. So then yarn over, put your hook back into the second loop, yarn over, and then put it back into the third loop, yarn over. Then pull it up a little bit. You're going to take your hook out, pull the 2 loops down, yarn over and pull up a loop into the first. Put your hook back into the second, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then back into the third, yarn over and pull up a loop. Again, if that section is a little bit too fast, you can slow it down. I kept measuring my strap to see how far I wanted to go until it was my desired length. Here I am just showing you once more. So you can hold it down with your thumb and then pull through that first, put your hook back into the second, pull through, put your hook back into the third and pull through. Okay, and then when it's the desired length and you're all done, you're going to yarn over and then pull through all of the loops. This cord is great because I feel like it's very sturdy and doesn't lose its shape or integrity, so it makes a perfect bag handle. So I wanted it to be about that long. And then here I am just pulling through all of the loops, and then you're going to chain one, cut, and then pull through and tighten. And don't forget to weave in the ends into the handle. To attach a handle to the bag, I kind of just put it into the space in between the front post and back posts that we did earlier, and then just made a knot and tied it. Surprisingly, this was just sturdy enough. I kind of just like the look of it. It was sturdy enough to hold the bag, but if you'd like, you could always sew in the handles into the inside if you wanted to be a little bit sturdier. But for me, this was good enough. And then this is the final product. I added a button that I found lying around, and then the little hook for the button is just a chain of 5 that I attached to the top. And yeah, this is what it looks like. Okay guys, this concludes the tutorial for the Meringue Puff Bag. Please let me know if you try out this pattern. Thank you so much for watching. If you like my video, please give it a thumbs up and comment and subscribe. I have a lot more videos coming of recent projects and some tutorials, so please stay tuned. Bye everyone!